That one's better.
Oh,
Alright.
so we're good now.
Good.
Okay. Yep.
So we're gonna start it there.
I guess.
Yep.
I mean,
Like start it there, like
Yeah.
with our second failed attempt at a clap.
yeah, start.
Well, welcome everybody to podcast number 5.
Oh, it's
Ooh.
5.
Today is, yeah, I think we're at podcast 5.
Oh,
That's what we're naming it. I don't remember if it's actually 4 or 5. I think we're
it's
at 5 though. I think that's 5.
I think we might be.
Today
Might be
is
5.
it's a little later. I think it's Tuesday today. Is it Tuesday? Yeah,
Yeah.
12:15. Usually record on Sundays. We were trying to record it on a Monday morning to try and mix it up, but then
I was hungover.
so we pushed it back to tonight. So we will try and get it out tonight, but we're us. So if we get it out tonight, yeah, that'll be great. But
We get it out at all.
I wanna-
Consider it a win.
I want to say thank you to everyone for your ongoing patience with our technical difficulties as well as our scheduling difficulties, because we are ultimately just large children. So
Very
that's kinda
large
where we're at.
children.
Yes.
Especially you, fat boy.
I'm not so fat. Well, I'm pretty sure I'm fat right now. But...
Okay. Yeah. So we're talking about 3 things today that are almost entirely the same between the 3 of them. They're basically the same. We're talking about swords, talking about Christmas decorations, and then we're going to talk about just a little bit about leadership, because that's one of the topics that we kind of all agree we want to talk about on here. So this will be kind of one of our first attempts to conversate about the topic of leadership.
Well, I think it's gonna have
But
to
we
be
were-
a multi-episode, multi-segment.
Oh, yeah.
I think this is gonna be a reoccurring topic.
Yeah.
There's
Absolutely.
just so many facets to cover.
Oh yeah. So that's one of the things, but this will be our first hit on it. Other than I think episode 1, we were like, we should talk about leadership, but this one will actually talk about leadership at least a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were just talking about how each of us prepares for the podcast. And I openly admitted that I don't do anything to prepare for the podcast other than think about it all week. And then if I do need to Google something, I do. But I mostly just I just think about what I want to talk about. And that, to me, that feels like the point of this whole thing.
I usually prepare, but
Nerd.
I'll look into it a little bit if I need to. Like this week, I didn't really. I was going to. I'm like, nah, I'm good. I know enough. So,
oh, you know enough about swords?
yeah.
Can you ever know enough about swords?
No, you can't.
That's the correct answer. I will accept that.
They're rough.
I could have had
So-
mine out here, but I'm not.
Do we wanna go into talking about it? Talking about swords?
Yeah, sure.
We can open with swords.
Okay,
Let's learn-
so we're gonna open
learn
with
about some swords.
So last week, Sunday, I specifically said something about like European swords because I don't know a lot about like Chinese or Japanese swords. For the most part, I know what a katana is, but
My name is
forgot
Marcus, and I'm uncultured.
that- No, I'm not.
Uncultured
I'm
swine.
clearly European. Yeah. So I don't know a lot about them. I know there's like several different types. Usually, if like you're a samurai, you carry a katana and something else. It's like a short word.
Wakashashi or Wakasashi and Tanto.
Starts with yeah.
Indoor and
Oh,
outdoor swords.
Wakashashi. Yeah, that might be longer, slightly longer, but something like that. Anyways, so I'm going to be talking to you more about like European swords, and obviously swords have been around for a long time. Like I believe the Bronze Age. I should know this, but I don't. But like the Bronze Age was like 1500 BCE to like 400 BC, something like that. So like if you think of like ancient Greece, they have like Copacis, that's like the curved one where like you see like it's 300. They have a couple other ones. But swords weren't very common after like the fall of the Roman Empire. Yes, they were. Yes, and no. So like obviously like you find a sword, yeah, you're gonna have it. But like at the
Well-
same time, steel and other like blade materials were super abundant at the time, and they didn't know how to like. It wasn't like streamlined. So more likely you're going to come across someone with like a pike or something with something like that. So like,
Like
a
an
long
axe.
Yeah.
axe, yeah. It requires
It's
less-
kind of a terrible use of resources for most people because
Yeah.
it's not the most efficient fighting weapon out there. You can get a lot more use out of like a decent axe or even just a fucking mace than you can out of a sword. And think about all that iron, and all that work that goes into making a sword that you could have just put into like fixing your plow or
Yeah,
your
And
exactly.
that sword at the end of the day might break
Yeah.
because at the time it's not like they were amazing metal workers, so it's
no.
Yeah. So, also like swords like are way different. Like they're way difficult. They're way more difficult to train with than like a spike, like a spear, or anything like that. Just because like you just kind of point and thrust, and like with the sword, there's so many more different movements like that. So
what about like a bow staff? I know you need to train a lot for a bow staff.
It takes a lot
like-
of wood planing.
yeah, but like also
You better,
swords.
I don't know. I think the construction to make the lathe would be outweigh the construction to make the sword.
But like you don't need a
Right.
lathe to make a bow staff.
But it makes a much better bow staff if you have a lathe.
But you could like
You just take
You
it
could
from
make
like
a
from
bow
like the
staff.
heartwood of like a nice solid maple. It's gonna be like straight, and then you make it even more straight with the lathe.
but it doesn't need to be perfect.
Well, it should be. It's a bow staff. Everything you should do should be perfect. Especially
we're
your
talking
bow
about,
staffs.
Like 2,000 years ago.
Yeah, especially then.
Okay.
Like
So
you don't have a big house to impress your neighbors
What's
with.
the largest animal you could take in a fight with a bow staff?
A penguin.
Both you and the animal have a bow staff.
Oh.
What am I? Oh God.
A beluga
I don't-
whale.
I don't think I could take a
this
like a
is-
chimpanzee with a bow staff. I think I would get I think I'd
yeah.
get my shit kicked in. That'd be a bad day for Keegan.
But like we have opposable thumbs, like other than.
But a
my-
chimpanzee's a chimpanzee,
No,
dude.
no,
yeah,
A bow
but-
staff is just a fancy stick.
Could you imagine a raccoon with a bow staff?
Oh, I don't know.
They have opposable thumbs.
They're-
Close enough.
Their hands are like the size of like two of my thumbs, though.
Is it a full size bow staff or is it like a raccoon size, like appropriately proportioned bow staff?
It's got to be appropriately proportioned.
Okay, so. It's
And
not
then
gonna be,
you guys know this-
3 foot long.
You need like the same amount of formal training in it. Could you imagine a raccoon in a dojo training with a bow staff?
That'd be awesome.
I'd pay to see that.
Do you guys know the state record? The state record in Wisconsin for a raccoon is like 55 pounds.
Could you imagine fighting that monstrosity and he is a bow
Could you
staff?
fight, could you fight a 55-pound raccoon with an appropriately proportioned bow staff after 5 years of bow staff training?
I will eat your baby, he says. Actually, it
Chill
does.
out, Brock Lesnar.
Just in the meantime, we taught the raccoon how to speak English. It's fine.
Yeah. He knows. Like
Ollie,
talk better than me.
Purely just for
Probably.
talking smack. It's purely just. Okay, swords.
Okay, yeah, okay. So, anyways,
you can attach a sword to a bow staff.
Yeah, so they're a thing. They're just not like super common because of the price of like materials and stuff like that. It's more of a status, you could say. And
I'm gonna walk around with my Gucci longsword.
yeah, your Gucci long.
It's like a well-proportioned bow staff. It's a
Yeah.
sign of status.
Yeah, status. No, it's your supreme bow staff or what the fuck it's called. But yeah, so it's more of a like a sign of wealth. After like the fall of Rome and quotation marks, quotation, that's a different topic. But like they're around, they're just not being used. It requires more training than like an axe or like a spear, like I would say. And it's not really until about I don't even know. I mean, like I want to say more around like Norman Conquest. Like you start to see like more swords. Don't quote me on that, but like I'm gonna stick with that.
But
And that's
like
because,
right about
like-
the time that you started to see like more formalized armies, and like
Yeah.
instead of just
Yeah.
like peasant militias, you actually started to see like knights, not like what we know of as knights, but more like men at arms and people whose entire jobs were being warriors essentially.
Yeah. Well, to an
I
extent.
feel like what accompanied that was massive improvements in metalworking, both in the ability to
Oh, yeah.
refine metal from ore and as well as actually create things.
Yeah,
from
that's what I'm getting at. So it's about that time. Don't quote me exactly, but yeah, like when you can start seeing like formidable armies again.
All right, we're gonna put it in a
Um,
textbook.
Okay, yeah, please. Base. That's
Citation: 3 dudes rambling to the internet.
Yeah. So, anyways, it's about this time that you start to see swords being more common, and the swords you're really looking at are going to be called like arming swords, knightly swords, and I'm going to talk about sword classification at the end. But really, it's like a one-handed
Ooh.
sword. The blade's probably like 30 inches, roughly. So something you can still swing around with, and the idea is to have a shield in the other hand. And keep in mind, swords at any point of time in this point of history are like your secondary weapon. So it's like a handgun. You're going to carry like a lance, if you're on horseback, or a spear first. And then like if you're too close,
I feel like if I had like a sword and a handgun, I feel like the handgun would definitely be the primary with the sword as the secondary.
Well, you know what they say is don't take a handgun to a sword fight.
Or is it don't take a sword to a handgun fight?
Well, depends on who's got the gun. How much?
Isn't
like,
the sword
range
mightier
it-
than the pen?
Yeah.
But is the pen mightier than the handgun?
No. Maybe.
I mean,
It's like a rock, paper, scissors triangle.
it,
Pen beats sword, sword beats handgun, handgun beats pen.
is it like one of those Nazi spy pens that also is a handgun?
Ooh.
It's got like a little bit of C4, so when you double tap the clicker twice, like I said, and then like 5 seconds later,
It opens a garage?
It blows up.
It blows up like a James Bond's pen.
Yeah, like a James Bond pen.
Could you imagine if someone made a garage door clicker where if you hit it one too many times, it just explodes?
Does the garage door like
No,
engine,
everything.
or the garage door opener?
Everything.
All
The
three
clicker,
parts.
the motor, and the door. It just goes.
So you're
And the button that's on the inside in your garage, you just have a weird hole in your plaster.
Yeah.
there. It's overall just a massive inconvenience.
Oh yeah.
yeah. Don't-
Someone really fucking hates you.
uh,
It's like the option on your iPhone where if you put your password in too many times wrong, it wipes the iPhone.
Right, but instead everything just explodes,
Exactly.
Yeah.
I feel like the concept's the same.
basically.
Yeah.
Marcus, can you please continue on the swords? I am enjoying this.
Oh
This
no,
is-
I am too, but
I can
Yeah,
tell.
this
I
is-
can tell.
we
I
just-
can tell. I'm glad. So
I'm
anyways,
enjoying the tangents as well.
So at the same time, when we're talking about swords, we need to keep in mind armor. So as one develops and becomes better, the other one needs to develop and become better. Otherwise, you can't kill people. All right. So at this time, you're going to see like a lot of chainmail still. People are going to have coifs, which is just like a little like hat you put on underneath the chainmail,
Coif.
so your head doesn't get like
coif.
super entangled in the chainmail and stuff like that. It's more comfortable. And then there's like some other, I think it's like
More
gambeson.
comfortable
I don't
under
know
your
what gambeson
coif.
surfaces, but like gambeson too, it's like a thick padded cloth, what helps. But like we start to see by like the 14th century, so like 1300s, like right when the 100 Years' War starts to pick up, armor plating becomes easier to manufacture. It's cheaper, so people are wearing more armor now. They're still gonna wear like chainmail and stuff like that. They still have like gauntlets and shields and like actual like bigger helmets now with like visors instead of like you just Google like but whatever. Just type in like Norman helmet. It's got to be different than like the Norman helmets. Or
With
whatever
like
you
the
see.
actual face cover with like just like the slit, like the classic
Yeah.
knight helmet where you
Yeah.
can't like see who's in there.
Exactly. So at this point of time, swords are starting to evolve too. They're getting bigger. The blades are shifting. There's lots of like Google images.
I love it when
Well,
swords get bigger.
Yeah. So instead of having like a wider blade, they're gonna move towards like a thinner blade with like a pointier tip, because now instead of like hacking at someone, not that you're going to hack at someone with like a blade, but like just imagine that.
Is that thinning of swords associated with the rise of the power of the church, as we saw rise of the rapier? It's a little out there.
I heard
Nothing.
the common ladies did not like it when the swords got thinner.
No, they
I
don't.
concur.
Weird, right? Well, some might argue it's all about how you use the sword itself and not like the sword. You know, that old.
I don't know. The Scottish with
You
their
don't need to make a
claymores
movement.
might
That was
argue the
weird.
bigger the sword, the better.
Okay. That might get addressed later.
It's really descended straight into penis talk just out of nowhere.
Well,
What?
here's
I
one
can't
for
say
you.
I'm surprised.
Penises now? I didn't
Gee-
know that.
The last recorded longbow kill in human warfare was in like 1943.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's that.
Did-
Yeah.
We should talk about him next week.
He also
Yeah, that would be
used to
great.
carry a broken in half Scottish claymore with him.
Could you imagine being like you're on the beach or you're a German, you're like one of the highest trained soldiers on the face of the earth, and you look over
and-
and your buddy who's just got doinked with like an arrow. Like, what would you even think? Like, of all of your years and everything you've seen, you just watched your buddy just get just drilled in the neck with like a
Oh.
full ass
If
like bow and arrow.
if I was a World War II Nazi soldier, the first thing I would do would snort a little bit more meth.
No.
I thought they had it in chocolate form. You just eat a
Pervitin.
little bit.
So they have they
Pervitin,
have chocolate,
yeah.
and then they have like little capsules. There's a lovely YouTube video out there, or a couple, where they talk about this one Finnish guy who was trying to take some Pervitin because he was being chased by the Soviets, and he accidentally takes the whole fucking bottle, and he goes on like a 4 or 5 day like hallucinative like wild journey, and then he gets lost. He loses his unit. So then for like the next
I think
2
I've heard
weeks-
about that.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then like when they pick him up, he's like 70 pounds, and he's just like all sprung out and shit. Crazy story.
And he was on like skis the whole time.
Yeah.
Okay,
But what a way
Marcus.
to go!
write that down.
Okay.
Okay, so we're talking about, isn't it like Mad Jack or something? The guy who killed people with the bow in
Yeah.
World War II. He also had a sword and bagpipes
And a kill.
and was like mad that it ended. A kill.
I mean, I'd be
he
mad
went
if
for it.
I'm just out there having the time of my life, killing Nazis with a fucking longbow, playing bagpipes and taunting them like Mel Gibson and
Hang
Braveheart.
on.
Yeah, I'd be fucking mad the war ended too.
Okay, so do you want to talk about that guy, or do we
We-
want to dump that one on Marcus?
Alright,
'Cause Marcus, I feel like you could talk about Meth and World War II.
I think
Let's talk about that later.
Marcus has that, and we'll just I'll just make commentary.
Yeah.
Okay,
we can
perfect.
just
'Cause-
have at it. That's cute.
Because we could do like a World War II episode next.
Oh,
week
that
if you
sounds
want.
like a theme. Everyone does World War II.
Themed episode. World War II thoughts. Okay, so Marcus, do you want to talk about the guy who had the sword and the bow, or do you want to talk about meth and chocolate and Nazis?
I can do. They're honestly both good. I can do Mad Jack if you. Yeah, I can do Mad Jack, and then Max, if you want to do like the Pervitin dude or something else, or if you can find something else cool.
Oh, I'll find
do that too.
something.
There's so much shit
Do
out
something.
there. There's just it's great. It's great.
Okay,
Um,
we can let these thoughts
Right.
continue to rise as
yeah.
we continue, but we'll do World War II theme overall.
I just want to bring up that Meth and Chocolate sounds like a really bad Hallmark movie.
oh my god.
I mean, I'd watch it.
I would watch that.
Like I'd
Okay.
100% watch
Oh.
it, but
Yes. Okay. So.
so
bit of a
swords.
tangent here. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Jack Churchill. That's the guy's name. Okay. So swords. The blades are changing now to like a more of a point because now like since people are wearing more armor, you can't fucking like slash at someone to kill them. You have to like hit them in the joints because there's less like area where you can penetrate. So the swords are changing, and this is like where we start to see like bigger swords, like what we call like a long and hand and a half or bastard sword. So like you can still
Or
wield it
bastard.
with one arm comfortably, and this is what I have upstairs in my room. But you can also grab it. It's just long enough the handle is, where you can grab it with two hands and swing it around and stuff like that.
That's a deceiving
it-
name.
Bastard sword.
Hand and a half.
Hand in half. Oh, yeah. Generally, like the blades are just a little bit longer, but they're not too much bigger than like an arming sword or a knightly sword, which you would use with a shield. And then there's like long swords, which are longer. They're usually
Oh,
about
they
like,
are?
50 inches in total length. Yeah. Two hand grip. And then there's great swords for like even war swords, which go up to like 60 inches. So yeah, that's like 5 feet long.
Is that overall length or blade length?
That's overall length. Blade
Overall,
length.
okay.
Oh yeah, that's
blade
not so
length
bad
is-
then. I was thinking that was blade length, and I was like, holy fuck.
Yeah, it's like that's a long blade. But if
So-
I suppose if you had like a two-handed sword, what's your handle? It's got to be 15 inches.
15.
Probably
yeah,
for balance,
something like that. Yeah. Well, yeah. So if you're like
but
thinking,
it's not insignificant.
if you're thinking greatsword and you don't know like what to think of, there's a couple good references. So one is Braveheart, like that's a Claymore in quotations. I will get more to that later on from like what I
Paint me a
understand
word
and
picture.
research. And then if you see Game of Thrones, Ice, the sword what Ned Stark uses to behead the deserter in the first episode, that's a great sword. I still want that at some point. Like, obviously, I'm not going to buy a functional one because that's too much money, but you can buy one for like $300. But those are great swords. So
Yeah, they're pretty
there's
cool.
also a change in size.
They're pretty neat.
Also, some other swords are coming around, like a falchion. They're one-handed swords, but their blade length are different. They're shorter and thicker, so they're more meant for like chopping. And because they're thicker now, they're easier to like. Think of like a meat cleaver in a way, but like a bigger meat cleaver. I mean, it's
Aren't
like,
they kind of machete-esque
Yeah,
in that they're
but-
kind of weight forward?
Machete is a better word, yeah. But like, think of a machete,
Okay.
yeah. And this is because armor keeps getting better and thicker, so like their swords are changing at this time as well. But like, from what I understand, most of the records don't really go into detail. They just say this is a sword, and it's not until the 19th century that people go back and try and classify what a certain kind of sword is. So they'll go back and say, oh, this is a one-hand sword, so this is going to be like an arming sword, or this sword is 60 inches. Let's classify this as a great sword because it's huge, and it's kind of like a neo sword period. I don't know, like a neo classification, but like I think part of this comes from like why in the 1800s this is now like a thing when they're going back and starting to classify these old swords. It's probably because this is when Jacob Burckhardt, oh my God, who's like a Swiss-born historian. If you've taken like a Renaissance class, or hopefully any history class would deal with like anything with the medieval ages or like the Italian Renaissance and stuff like that, you should know his name. But like he starts going back and like analyzing.
He's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, he's like why we have the term Renaissance. There's someone else who came out with a book like 5 years beforehand, but like he did a better job, and he's going back and looking at all of these like pieces of art, warfare, everything revolving around like Italian Renaissance. So I think because of how popular and like how I'm going to use groundbreaking because like he was saying this is a whole different era than the Dark
I thought he
Ages
was a
with
dish
Armored
digger.
Dark. Yeah. So I think this is at the same time this book comes out. It's called I have it. I don't remember it. Hold on a sec. Something Renaissance.
In the meantime, will
Anyways,
you pull that up? Yeah, you go.
Anyways, there's a lot of misconceptions in like popular culture. Oh, this is a long sword. This is an arming sword. This is a broadsword. A broadsword is something totally different. A broadsword is something from like the 16th or 17th century. It's a one-handed sword with like a hilt, like a basket hilt, if you want to imagine that. Civilizations of the Renaissance in Italy. That's what I'm thinking. That's it's like magnum opus. But anyways,
So one of the takeaways.
there is.
So
like,
what are the takeaways from this? Oh,
Okay, so like, just trying to learn like different sword types, I would say, but like it's also like a movement in history where they would go back and analyze things but didn't really have names. It was just like called a sword, and we have a lot of misconceptions because of this. And like even today, it's still debated what a certain sword is or something like that. Like a claymore, a Scottish claymore, which we think of like a great sword, is apparently just like a normal like great sword, and that a Scottish claymore is apparently, according to Skulligrim, is actually just like a basket hilt sword, broadsword, whatever you want to call it, from like the 17th or 18th century. But like I still kind of use claymore because like it's like what you usually think of a uniquely Scottish sword, I guess. And they have like different hilt designs and different like pommels, which are like unique to like Scotland. And then Ireland has different like unique pommels, or like what were popular during like the medieval time periods too. You can look it up. which are more like uniquely to them. I'm not going to go get bogged down into that, but yeah, like it's just kind of an interesting thing where people 500 years later were like, hey man, let's try and classify these swords, and like it's still kind of up to date today, like the names of these
And that
swords.
explains why all of everything is all jacked up, because it wasn't like it was made in a way that was like, oh, this is kind of how this is organized.
Yeah.
It was organized after it was made, so it's going to be an imperfect thing no matter how it is.
Yeah, exactly. And if I knew more, I could way more research, but like that's not the point. The point is like bringing this up and talking about it. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting. It'd be like if we didn't coin the term assault rifle, and then like 300 years from now, someone tries to think like they come up with the term assault rifle, and then they apply it to like a civilian AR-15, and then they say that's an assault rifle when really we know like an assault rifle is like an M4A1 where it's got select fire and it's an intermediate
and
cartridge and stuff like that. It would be like that basically. So yeah, I think that's a good analogy.
So they probably had classifications. The classifications just didn't get written down.
Yeah.
You know what
I
else
think
though is like should get lost to history, like classifications?
What?
Christmas decorations.
Oh my God, Christmas decorations. Man, I could go on and on. Have you seen some of them? They have like giant Santas that are like fucking 15 foot tall, just full of hot air waving around. Yeah, I don't know shit about Christmas decorations.
People go nuts for it. Like, aren't you not just gonna put it up for like 3 weeks and
I
then
know.
just take it all down when
I
it's
don't
colder?
get
Dude, I don't get it, man. Like, people were putting their Christmas decorations up here, and it was already like 10 below zero, right? And they're like the week before Thanksgiving. So like I've had Christmas decorations up longer, like, or the people in my neighborhood forever, because they put them up whenever it was still like manageable to go outside. So I've been dealing with fucking Christmas decorations around town since before Thanksgiving because people didn't want to set them up when it was below zero.
So are they just gonna sit out in all the Alaska winter all the way until it gets like decent enough to go outside again?
Dude, I don't know, but like
Is that just how it works?
some of these people on fucking post just went absolutely nuts. They have like colored lights everywhere on their house. They have like 1,000 things outside. And it's just like, what the fuck are you
So
doing?
specifically what we're talking about is exterior decorations. Like if you want to decorate the inside of your house, that makes sense.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Go
that's
for it.
fine.
I mean-
but like outside decorations specifically.
Even some outside are like nice, like having like some like white lights, even like some twinkly lights, like look nice and like really bring in the Christmas theme and stuff, and just make.
My
everything
dad has one of
almost-
those things that you like set it out in the yard, run a cord to it, and plug it in, and then it like shines a light on the side of your house.
I've seen a lot of
So
So
those.
instead of having it, yeah.
I have a not so interesting but interesting story which ties into this at the end. Can I talk about that too?
How long is the story?
It's like 2 seconds. It's stupid, but like continue.
Tell it now.
Supposed to be like a minute.
Tell it now.
Okay. So like
Tell it now.
I work at a big retail store, right? So yeah.
It's called Walmart. You might have heard of
I
it.
thought
Might
it
have
was
heard of
Target.
I'm not somebody there. But anyways, so I was at the service desk because like part of my job is being at the service desk.
Is servicing people?
Absolutely. And servicing people. But like
Do you
that's
do you
what-
I
service
think
a lot
Max
of
was
people at
alluding to
Walmart?
gay sex.
What?
Do you service a lot of people?
Just tell
at
your
Walmart?
story.
Yes, I serve.
Tell your story.
Anyways, so I had this lady come in and she's just like, "Yo, can you find these light bulbs?" But like this.
Did
color
she
is
actually
different."
say yo?
No, she was.
Okay.
She seemed kind of senile in a way. But anyways, she's like, "Can you find these? I'm willing to go wherever I need to go to get them." And I'm just like, none of these stores. Like I was looking at my phone. I'm like, none of these stores have them. And she's like, "Oh, okay. Well, that's a shame because like I would have drove all the way to Oshkosh or like New Berlin or all these other places to get these lights." I'm like, it's a fucking light or like light ups. Like you're gonna go through all this for like a couple simple decorations when you could have just ordered it. I don't get it. But like people are out there like that, man. That's basically the story. So yeah. Riveting.
Yeah.
The crazy people.
Have you ever like seen the ones where people have their whole house built like Christmas Vacation, like, right? And
Yeah.
then they time it to music, and you're like, you've spent thousands of dollars decorating your house and setting it to music, and you could have just bought your kid another present,
Right.
Or gone on vacation.
or like put it in their college fund.
Yeah.
Like,
Is this like a keeping?
Unless
Up
it's like the city is doing it, like then it's like, oh, that's
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
Is this like a keeping it with the Joneses thing? You think?
I don't know. I'm just fucking blown away by these Christmas decorations.
Yeah.
It's much.
Like,
It's
I'd-
a bit much.
I think like some people might do this thing where they're like, oh, we're gonna put $50 towards it every year, and then it like accumulates,
Oh, see, I get that.
and like then it explains why you have so
Okay.
much, but then you still have so much to put out.
yeah, but some of
It's
them
so
are
much
just like
stuff.
the people that have like lights layered like every like 3 foot on their roofs and like up their walls and stuff. Like they're not just spending $100 every year. They're spending like a grand
Yeah.
every year because you got to make sure you have like all matching lights and stuff. So otherwise, like the
Or else
plugs
they-
aren't
like
gonna
if
work.
one goes out, they all go out.
Yeah, well, not so much anymore. Nice thing
Yeah,
about
they're pretty good about that.
LEDs.
They're closed circuits, right?
Hashtag technology.
Oh no, they're open. It would be an open circuit if one can go out and you can keep them running, right?
I don't know.
Whatever.
I don't want to put a solid answer on that. Hey, do you know what we did get though? We had our first hater.
Oh,
Oh. Yes.
Yeah. So I was sitting working today, and my dad sent me an email. My own father, who's been listening to these, I'm greatly appreciative of him. But this is the exact email. I can read it off here. I can even show it to you guys.
all,
I'm not sure if he'll appreciate it.
all I
but
want is
it's
hate
funny,
mail.
so I have to.
Please,
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
send
but-
us hate mail.
Yes.
Yeah, specifically about Marcus because it's entertaining.
Oh yeah, the funnier you
quote
can like, the more hateful towards Marcus you can get, the more you bring him down, the more I laugh.
All this asshole does is stutter and he can't even talk a normal sentence. What the fuck? I'm sorry. Words are hard.
What are words?
So he's talking about podcast 2 when Marcus had his discussion about the English language book.
I can't read it.
So I'm not sure if you guys can read that, but I'll just read it off.
I can't.
Marcus equals worst book report ever. by the way. From a high school English teacher, so suck on that one, Marcus.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. This
Hashtag can't hear the haters. Couldn't even read the email because I don't speak English.
future so bright,
Thanks,
I need
Dad.
shades.
Yeah, I just saw that. I just had to giggle and show you guys. He also went on. I don't know if he was like just trying to chat with me about it or if he was like telling us that we should have talked about something in a different way. But he sent me a bunch of emails. I'm like, should we revisit this? And then radio silence. So I assume it's fine. Everything's fine.
Of course, everything's fine. And this podcast is
Right.
perfect.
But yeah, so we're at just under 100 views overall as a channel, and yeah, we got our first hater.
Yeah.
Our view to hater ratio's doing well.
Fuck yeah, bud.
He should leave it this
So-
way.
Ooh,
No, actually.
Dislike,
it would follow
unsubscribe.
algorithm.
Should that be
Yeah,
our? Should we be dislike and unsubscribe?
I think
Yeah.
that'd be counterintuitive.
No, fuck them.
It'd be funny.
We should. What our thing should be like. You should unsubscribe from somebody else every podcast you listen to.
Yes.
That's our challenge.
And send us a picture of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Send us a video.
Every time you send us a picture of an unsubscribe, we will do something. Like we can. What should we do? We need to
What's, like-
think of some sort of punishment. We will all say something nice to each other,
I was gonna say we
and then
can
we'll
like
say 2 things that are mean.
give
just
$1
balance
to
it
Bill
out.
Gates or something. Just something completely and totally asinine. Like let's find like Bill Gates' address and just put like start
Oh, and, like-
mailing him dollar bills.
But like single dollar bills.
Yeah.
In an envelope,
But-
which you're not supposed to do.
Can we find like
What is-
expired currency?
Ooh. You can send him like a peso, like a single peso. It's like 8 cents. Like the postage to send it to him was like 3 or 4 times the amount of money that's actually in there.
Can we find like the old like Zambian dollars whenever their inflation was running out of control?
Oh, and it was like $1 billion of whatever the Zambian dollars were
buy, like,
to
a
like
loaf of
1
bread?
American dollar.
Yeah.
Kenyan
It'd be great.
We'll figure
But yeah.
something out.
Yeah.
Challenge of the day is unsubscribe from a channel that you don't like.
No, I'm subscribing from a channel that you do like. That's more fun.
This is true. Either way, I feel like we should hit our third topic
Yeah.
because I feel like this is going to be the big one of the night.
Mhm.
So early in the podcast and when we were kind of planning this out, one of the things we had to talk about was leadership. Because there's a lot of podcasts that discuss leadership from a perspective of we are leaders and it is our job to communicate those ideas to the next generation of people and young people that are learning to lead. So like a couple big ones the big one that comes to mind is like the Jocko Willink podcast, which is super intense and it is fantastic.
Jocko,
But it is,
episode
it's
604.
it's oh my god, Jocko is fantastic, but he's like Jocko's was a multiple time highly awarded Navy SEAL commander, was commanding a lot of all this stuff, and it's like, well, of course we're listening to you because you know exactly what you're talking about with leadership. He has a very concise thing. He's written all these books, but I don't think we hear a lot of it from people that are trying to figure out leadership from the inside and haven't come out the other end yet. So I think that would be a fun thing to discuss. And specifically, I want to talk about today the importance of fellowship in leadership. I was thinking about it all week. I'm like, how do you address leadership? And I was thinking, well, you should start
I think that's a good starting point. At
Yeah.
least for
with
us.
right. Because we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about this a lot over this whole thing.
Well, and
We all have leadership experience of various kinds and amounts, but
and very specifically for us, like relating to personal life experiences, none of us are in a position of like supreme authority where we are the ones that have people looking up to us. Most of us are more in informal leader roles where we're not actually a declared leader. Like people don't look and go, hey, you're in charge, tell me what to do. Like not necessarily in all cases, and I'm sure
Yeah.
we've all been all officers on the rugby team, like been different managers in school projects or at
group
work and
project
stuff.
leads, whatever.
But more often than not, we end up as informal leaders, which is just the people that do the right thing and do it well, know what they're talking about, are competent in the area that they are working in, and have people just generally look to them for advice and guidance on what they are doing and just following their actions.
I like that a lot. I think that's a great way to frame it, where we're not necessarily a direct leader, but kind of an indirect or a peer leader might be a good way to say it.
Good way.
I think that's solid.
So to kind of, I want to come back to that because that's awesome. I think that's a fantastic perspective through this whole thing to kind of carry. But I want to specifically talk about fellowship because this is what I've been kind of thinking about all week. Because fellowship and informed and purposeful fellowship is good leadership, and fellowship allows leaders to lead, and it allows things to work. If you don't have good fellowship, no amount of leadership will be productive.
Yeah.
So like if you have Jocko Willink, arguably like he's like the prime example of an amazing leader, but if you put him in front of 8 people that are actively not following him, it's not useful. You can't get stuff done.
Well, and I mean that one's kind of hard because it is the job of a good leader to coordinate your guys and get them all heading in one direction. No matter what that direction is or what you're trying to be working on, that is your goal as a good leader. It is to demand the best and get the best performance out of whatever people you are working with, depending on what you may be doing. Like for everyone, there's different goals. If it's the military, it can be performing at a high physical, high stress level, performing complicated tasks. If you're working in a if you're a sales team manager, maybe it's still working in that high stress environment, but you're getting out there, you're providing them with the proper resources and the proper training so that way they're able to accomplish their sales goals that you set for them and stuff. So that's I don't think that's the greatest example, but I know where you're trying to go, and I think it's the whole you can't be a good leader without being a good follower, like that direction.
Right.
Yeah.
Like your job as a follower is to make whoever is in charge of you look good, no matter what you're doing.
Which in itself is an act of leadership.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Because if you are to be a true follower, you are leading as if you were a follower without the position, where you're essentially you're leading as best you can, because leading means working with the group to perform the goal and to perform the task.
So would you say it's like basically being coachable? So like someone tells you something,
Right, you
and
got to be coachable.
yeah,
Yeah.
you do it, and then
Yeah.
you do the best you can, and you follow up through and make sure you do what
You, yeah.
Try
You
and keep it
perform your
organized.
task and you aid others in their attempts to do their own tasks. Yeah.
you. Okay.
But it's an interesting thing because it's like, oh, what's it mean to be a good follower? It's like, well, it's all of the things it means to be a good leader. Just all the this everyone does it.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to me because to be a good leader, it's XYZ, it's things that we can point at. But to be a good follower, there's not a list because it's the same list. To be a good follower is to just be a good leader, just be one further down the chain, even if there's other people at that same step.
Yeah,
I think
I'd agree with
I
that.
think you're right. I didn't think about it like that, probably, or at least I didn't start thinking about it like that until you said something about it last week. That got me kind of thinking about that, and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Because like, and also like, when does anyone ever think about like what is a good follower? I feel like unless you're asked that
Exactly.
question, but like it's definitely something worth like bringing up, like what we're talking about right now, and it's a good way of like thinking about things and analyzing what goes into it.
Mm.
I mean like we pretty much already said that. I'm just restating it, but
Right.
yeah.
But I like to even in such a small group as such as this one, where it's super casual and it's like, oh, we just to get together and record a podcast once a week. There's definitely like we each kind of found our niches, and my niche is cutting and recording stuff and dealing with more of the tech side. And Max, you do a lot more of the organization stuff and the kind of the planning and keeping us on task. And Marcus, you bring a phenomenal amount of research and insight, and you actually bring the most actual material to these.
Yeah, all I do
So
is
we all kinda
sit
have
here
our
and harass
niches.
you.
I
But
mean,
like,
that's
but in all of the
entertaining.
stuff you do, all of the file management, and
Yeah.
you've done all the outlines and stuff, and it's where it's like, oh, you're being a good leader, but in a way we don't have a leader because we're all being good followers, which in a roundabout way is being good leaders.
See, like how
So
I
I
thought
would
about it. Go for it.
So I would say that one of the big differences you're going to see in, especially in formal situations, so you have a formal leader, is you're going to see a
Right.
different in objectives. The objective for the leader is either going to be an objective they set for themselves, which is unlikely in most situations. Like maybe more in like very small business worlds, like if you're working in a company of like less than 20 people, 30 people, and you don't have any investors and it's just all out of pocket, like, and you're the owner of the business, like, yeah, then that's probably your own goal. But if you're in like,
Like things like Louis Rossman Group with the Mac Repair, like he is
I
entirely
don't know what the fuck that
self-owned.
is.
He is he is like a big guy in the right to repair world,
Okay.
where he owns a small shop in New York where they fix MacBooks, and they develop and sell the materials
Okay.
and all the instructional videos on how to fix these unfixable quote unquote
Yeah.
computers.
Um,
But he runs a small shop and he does a lot of leadership stuff too.
But in most situations, even your leader has objectives set by them from someone that's higher up. Like, very easy example are like um, CEOs and shareholders. So you have the shareholders meeting, they come up, they elect their fucking CEO or COO or whatever, right? They appoint them. And that person is entrusted with the goal of the shareholders, and they have them to answer. In an ideal world, they have them to answer to, and their goals are basically set by the shareholders. And then the CEO comes down, and their job is to disseminate that and set the different goals for different groups within his organization, so that way they are able to hit those goals as well. Or like in the military, you have your generals, then you have like your colonels, and then your lieutenant colonels, then your fucking captain, like your company commanders, down to your platoon leaders, down to your squad leaders, and down to your fucking fire team leaders, right? And you're gonna take each step of whatever you're trying to accomplish, and you're gonna keep passing down the chain of command, and just down until you get to
And
the
as
lowest
you
level.
go down, they become more specific.
Yes.
So at the top, it's we want to win this thing, this overall war, and then in research to be a little less intense. It's we want to answer this fundamental question.
Yeah.
What questions is within that, and then it goes down a level. And now there's 5 people that are super top end PhDs. And then you go down another level, and there's 20 PhDs from 5 different things, and then it just becomes, and it breaks levels down. It becomes more specific, and
Yep.
as you go, each step becomes more manageable. But as you go back up, they all come back together to answer that
Well-
overall question to accomplish that overall goal.
And many of them you have significant breakdowns at different places, and by breakdowns I mean splitting of information, splitting of objective goals, right? So you have like big objective, defeat
The
Germany in World War
delegation.
II, right? And then you start splitting up like this general, you're gonna fucking do this, you're gonna do this, right? And then you just keep breaking it down into smaller tasks. So you'll have these like autonomous zones operating throughout the bigger part of the military to accomplish it, and that's where you're gonna see, I think, the breakdown whenever between being a leader and being a follower is that you're going to have your overall leader for the situation more focused on the big picture stuff, and then you're going to have your little dude just trying to accomplish the tasks presented to them at hand. So like in a small business, this would look like, hey, we need to make $400,000 in sales this year in order to stay afloat. But in order for us to make $400,000 in sales, you have to make 1 million tiny little metal coasters or something,
Right.
right?
And we need to break that down, and this person needs to make 1,000,000 coasters, this person needs to package and ship 1,000,000 coasters, and then this person needs to sell 1,000,000 coasters.
Yeah.
So it's,
Okay.
I think that's an interesting way too, because then each person is a leader in a sense that they are in charge of a team and a task, and that each person that they delegate has a task that they perform that is part of what they want to accomplish as a goal. And then they're a follower in the sense that they are working for somebody that's above them that is accomplishing a higher goal. And by feeding their goal up, they can allow that person to answer their own questions to accomplish that goal.
So should we kind of talk about how being an informal leader is being a good follower? Because it's basically taking
Absolutely.
the ideas of being a leader, applying them to your own life, leading yourself to just be a good cog in the wheel of whatever you're doing, and therefore you end up becoming an informal leader, and how that can just completely change the just morale or just day-to-day life of any situation you're in. Like one person has the ability to do with a positive outlook and working hard and taking control and doing what they should be doing and just not being an ass at something, take a situation and take like a bad work environment and just completely fucking flip it around, even if they are at the lowest level of that work environment.
And it only takes one person to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bill-
So,
Because
like-
if you show up and you just decide that I'm just going to do the right thing every day, that's contagious.
Yeah, how many times
If
have
you
you go
take
to
pride in your work and
go to a wrestling practice and like, I don't want to fucking be here, dude. I'm tired. I'm hungry. I want to go the fuck home. And then there's just that one asshole who hasn't eaten in 4 days and is still beating your ass across the mountain back.
So yeah.
and they look dead in the eyes and they're basically asleep, but they're still running faster than you,
Yeah. And it just makes you want to run harder.
right? Because by virtue, he's my teammate. I at least have to work for him.
Well, and he's not.
You don't want to look bad, right?
Oh, and
Yeah.
if you think about it, he's not trying to lead. He's not trying to be inspirational or get you guys to do anything they're not. He's just doing what he has to do for what he wants to get done. I think that's the difference. I think that is the difference between being a leader and being a follower. I think the leader actually has a planned objective and the follower is doing what they have to do, but I think overall they use the same principles.
I think being intentional and having a stake in what gets done, I would add to that. And just a like words addition, same ideas.
Yeah.
But knowing, are you doing it to get it done because it's like, oh, this is just what we do here, this is kind of just what it is, or do we do this because we have a purpose and we know what the purpose is? Are we doing this by virtue of I have to do things and I'm just going to do it, go through the motions and do it? Or am I here to do this because it is moving me forward?
Yeah.
I think what
Is
you
that
said
kind of where you're
is a good
thinking,
way-
Max?
Is well said and a good way to put it. Just because, like, yeah, if you're leading by example, you're doing what you're supposed to do, and you're probably doing more. You're probably making sure you do what you were told to do, and you're making sure you do a good job at it, and that you're doing the best you can. So yeah.
I like to think about our rugby team was a good example of this.
That's,
We had a really good team culture that even though we never had to have strict leadership, we all put our work in.
Yeah.
And we had our days where we didn't because we're ultimately just delinquents, but
Mostly.
we were self-led. We would show up, and when I was the president, we'd show up, and there was one person that like would keep track of the time, and everyone just kind of did their thing. And you could leave guys for half an hour and kind of tell them, hey, just kind of work on these ideas by doing these drills, and they would do them, because we as a team, we wanted to accomplish these. We had the end goal in mind. We wanted to win a national championship, so then we would come to practice, and we all had a purpose. And if somebody was jacking off and fucking around, like there's a certain amount of it that is part of that because it's pretty loose, but it gets to the point that even those guys that usually aren't hard on guys is like, hey, quit fucking around. We're here for a reason.
Yeah. And like being a part of this team was like such a weird thing for me at first because like we didn't really have a coach. Yeah, I mean like yes, we had an alumni come and teach us like some basics like twice a week, but like other than that, like he didn't get like super in our face about anything. He would help us with everything. He was super cool. Other than that, it was like on us to like coach each other up and like look out for each other. And like all these other teams would have coaches and stuff like that, and we'd go and kick their ass, and they'd be like, "What?" So yeah, it was just
big shout out to Gertz, by the way.
Yeah, big shout out to Gertz. Great person. But like it's just kind of like an experience of it itself. Like I don't know, you just kind of have to be around it, like do it yourself, kind of have that experience. I guess like I can't really put like a word for it or like describe it. Yeah, it's just like
I think that's
all on its own.
I think that's a good place to wrap on the the fellowship discussion.
Leadership.
And we're getting pretty close to an hour or two, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So you want to start talking about next week?
Hey, hell, why
So
not?
I'm feeling the World War II theme. I think that'd be fun.
I don't know what I'm going to talk about, but I can definitely find something there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just talk about the composition of a German platoon and how the tactics of fire and maneuver and establishing fire suppression from a German platoon, because they had 3 crew-served weapons, like really played a huge impact on their fast conquest of the Europe, and how that allowed the rest of the platoon to have basically bolt-action rifles and be fine with it.
So I
think that sounds like a good plan.
Or maybe I
couple
won't.
good books. You can like, if you want, let me pull it up. I have them at my dad's house, but they're really good at like breaking down.
I'm just going to watch 10 episodes of World War II in HD and I'll be good.
That works too, but
I would like to talk about.
Go for it.
I want to talk about Patton, some of the history, philosophy, and crazy stories from that. Oh my God, Patton's a goon and a half. But I would love to talk about some of this shit that he did.
Just talk about the movie.
That motherfucker killed Pancho Villa.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Like
that's
that. Like
right.
that was one of like.
I didn't know that offhand,
He
but
was
that's
like-
pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, you know what they did? They went to Mexico on a raid and they killed him and they strapped him to the front of a Jeep and drove him back. That's chapter 1 of the Patton book. It's like, oh yeah, he grew up in a normal little thing and he joined the army because he knew he was gonna love it. Yeah, and then he killed Pancho Villa.
So,
It's nonchalant. So yeah, so I want to talk about that guy
So-
and some of the things he did
World War II.
and kind of, yeah. So World War II week.
Cool.
Ready.
I'm excited. That'll be a hoot.
Hoot and a half.
World War II week. So Max is gonna talk
About
so
something.
we can. So he was thinking loosely talking about the German structure and how they could have the crew-served weapons.
German platoon structure and how their use of crew-served weapons led to the fact that everyone else in the platoon could get by with basically using normal, like, bolt-action small arms, and how it pretty much didn't matter, and how it was inefficient for them to produce larger, like, more complicated small arms, like semi-auto or fully auto, and it actually wouldn't have made them any more combat
It was-
effective.
Can I?
which is an interesting. I want to hear about that.
Um,
And then Marcus, you were going to talk about some books and Jack Churchill, the crazy guy with the
Yep,
sword.
Yep, I'm going to talk about him. But I did find the books. I don't remember the names off the top of my head. But it's just called, very simply, Hitler's Army. I've read probably at least half of it. It gets a little dry
Brag.
at some points, but it's literally like the breakdown of like the Wehrmacht's army infrastructure, supplies, stuff like that. It's a big numbers book. It's very interesting. So like, I'm just gonna throw that out there if anyone's interested, or you can get it on Amazon for like $15 on Kindle. But yeah, that's a good book for that topic.
So we got German troop structure, Jack Churchill, which is the guy with the sword and the bagpipes. And then I'm going to talk about some patent stories and some patent philosophies, because there's a bunch of those. So
Whoa!
yeah,
All right.
and we'll wrap it up there. I want to say thanks everyone for listening so far. I think we're at like 90 views or something. This is neat. It's kind of a fun experience. So a lot of people are watching them, giving feedback, and I want to say thank you to everybody. This is a fun thing for us. It's a fun thing to be able to make these and share them. So thanks. We hope you enjoyed this one too. You guys got anything to wrap it up?
Bye-bye.
See ya, folks.
Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I know
No.
that jazz.
Dislike, unsubscribe.
From somebody else.
Bye-bye.
Okay,
Or
good night, guys.
leave a hateful comment. It might be amusing. Alright, see you guys.